Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another video. My name is Tom. Thank you for joining me here today. I am here with my 2023 Chevrolet Bolt EUV Premier, and as you can see, it's not currently plugged in. It is at 80% state of charge. Car's functioning fantastic. That said, I haven't driven this car in a few days. As you can see, it's covered in pollen and dust. This last week has been absolutely a slammer for me. I haven't left the house much just because of various projects that I was working on. But today, with the fact that it's a Friday and it's a beautiful afternoon, I think we're going to go on a road trip. That road trip's going to be about an hour and a half south. We're going to drive about, let's say, 90 miles, and we're going to see how this vehicle does on the freeway. I'm hoping to use Super Cruise. And also, I'm just hoping to check out a new charger. I've never been to Columbia, South Carolina, so this will be a new experience for me too. So, as far as the car goes, let me open it up and take a look in here. I know you guys are over here on a tripod, but I'll let you know. The car has 2,160 miles on it. I did just confirm that it's at 80% state of charge. Oh man, it's hot in there. I think we're gonna have to do the trick. Do you guys remember the trick that I showed you a little bit ago? If your car is closed, make sure you lock it. I'll show you again. So it's locked, right? If you lock it and then push and hold the unlock button, the windows come down. So if there's a purpose to have the remote in your pocket, that's enough. Anyway, so let's see, where was I? So we're gonna probably just head on south, see how far we can get. I know there's an Electrify America facility down there. I've never been to it, so I don't know what to really tell you about it right now, but maybe we'll check it out. We'll see what kind of units they are. We'll walk around, and most of all, we'll see how this baby does after having been on sort of vacation for the last week, because this car has not moved from the spot since last Sunday. So at least 5 days of just sitting here, and it has been sitting unplugged. I did not plug it in. It's been very warm here over the last few weeks. It's been in the 60s at night, and then mid-80s during the day, plus minus a few degrees. It is really hot on the inside, so we'll let that air out. But what I'm going to do in the meantime is I'm going to grab the camera, the tripod, as well as maybe a snack or something to have along the way. And we're just going to hit the road and see how things go. So let's hit it. All right, everybody, so we are inside the Bolt EUV, and we're getting ready to hit the road. Just thought I'd show you guys a few things here. Not sure what the view is, but I'll kind of go through it. Presently, I've been cooling the car down with the air conditioning, so 81% of energy is going to climate settings. 19% is going to driving and accessories. I never did quite understand why they would loop driving and accessories together, but it is what it is. I don't know what all the 19% is going to, except for air conditioning, because there's nothing else on at the moment besides the AC. I reset the trip meter, so it's zeroed out. Currently it shows we've used 600 watts of power. I assume that's all air conditioning. There are no impacts because, well, we haven't driven any. Climate appears to be giving me a minus 2.0 just because it can. And I cleared out the history, so that way when we get there, we'll have an accurate picture of, what an average drive like this will do to an electric vehicle. Not that it's going to do anything, but just saying. It is also not 107 degrees outside. If you can see this, that is wrong. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. I don't know if it's the sun setting or whatnot, but if it's 80 degrees, I'd be highly surprised. So that is way off. As far as everything else goes, right now I have Apple CarPlay off because I was using the phone to set up the cameras. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn it back on and put the map in here so that way I have it up. I've never driven down this way, you know, where we're going. So I'll have to obviously have the map on for it, you know, for us to not get lost. So let's get this going. And let's see if we can just do Electrify America in Colombia. So that's kind of weird. So this says distance 63 miles. I was under the impression it was more like 90 because somebody told me Colombia was 90 minutes from here. So I assumed it was 90 miles from here because mile a minute driving. There's no traffic here. Like we don't have the traditional city traffic that you'd think. So if something tells you that it's going to take you 90 minutes to get there, it's because it's 90 miles away, not because you have 90 minutes of traffic. So, okay, be that as it is, we have a 63-mile distance ahead of us. So we're zeroed out, so we'll see how accurate that is. This says it's an hour and 10 minutes away. So let me turn on CarPlay and get it to connect to my phone. And then we'll see what we get. There's some pictures here of other vehicles charging. It looks like a pretty nice facility. It is out of Walmart, so we'll check that out. Actually, while we're in here, let's open up the Electrify America app. I hope you guys can sort of see this. Otherwise, I'll just have to tell you about it later or tell you about it as I go. Maybe that's more appropriate. So we're going to this Walmart here. All chargers are currently in use. Cool. I'm going to set a notification to be notified when one of these chargers becomes available. So, and that's okay. We'll hang out down there. We'll do a site review and whatnot. There's a bunch of stuff around. I see a Best Buy, Chick-fil-A, obviously Walmart, Sam's Club, Home Depot, and it looks like there's a pretty big strip mall, including a movie theater, a Regal movie theater, BJ's restaurant, Party City, a bunch of car service places, etc., etc. So we'll check it out. We'll see what it's all about. Yeah, all chargers currently in use. Should be interesting. But as you can see by this line, we got a ways to go anyway, so let's hit it. And we'll see how this goes. I'm kind of nervous about the all chargers in use thing, but then I'm also wondering if it's only like 63 miles away. I have 165 miles on the guessometer over here on the range estimator. I think I can make it back without charging there. So if something were to, really go wrong, I think I can always make it back home. So let's do this. Let's see what we get. So one thing about this town, let me turn the fans down a little bit. One thing about this town is it's very, very small. I think the entire county has about 20,000 people in it. So this whole area is really small, but it's stretched out over quite a bit of acreage because, you know, we just drove probably about 1.5 miles or so from what's properly known as downtown Union, only to hit another downtown Union here ahead of us. So it's a little weird and strange, but this southern part of Union is kind of a triangle, so all the roads leading out of Union kind of intersect right here, and then you can opt to go, you know, southwest or southeast, depending on which way, if you want to go towards the coast or if you want to stay inland towards Columbia. So we're obviously staying inland, so we're going to make a right here. But the point I'm trying to make is that it's really weird, you know, when you're living someplace for, you know, we've been here for 10 months now. And what's really interesting is that we've never made it to this part of town. So before I cut the camera on, I was thinking to myself, wow, a lot of stuff exists, you know, where I thought there was nothing but like grass and forests and stuff like that. I mean, here's a massive cemetery on our right, and there is kind of a forest on the left, and this is a 2-lane kind of a forest, what I call a forest road, what people around here call a highway. You know, it's kind of impressive, actually. You know, it's a really beautiful area of the country, you know, part of the country that, you know, it's pretty decent weather. Like, we're sheltered from any hurricanes that come in from the coast because we're hundreds of miles inland, but we're also close enough to like the Blue Ridge Mountains over here, that, you know, where the weather systems are separated. So this area of South Carolina is very stable climate, very, you know, very predictable. You know, it's going to be relatively hot in the summer and very cold in the winter because we don't get a lot of the, you know, the Florida warmth in the wintertime. But anyway, you know, I just thought that I'd share that with you guys. Again, I've never been on this road. I did recall an event that led me down about halfway to Columbia, and that was when I went to the tractor dealership to buy Kubo. That dealership is in a town called Newberry. Newberry is a little tiny town that kind of looks like what you're looking at here. It's sort of, you know, a suburb of a suburb of a suburb. Not quite rural, but not quite a suburb. And there's obviously a tractor dealership there because what else are you going to have there? So I remember driving down, but I took one of the northern routes that are north of us now. I never went on this road, and I ended up taking a different freeway because we are going to get on a freeway here in a little while, about 18 miles or so, 13 miles. And you know, the drive is super peaceful. You know, I'm cruising about 60. Speed limit's 55, and I'm actually going to set the cruise control without driving off the side of the road, and keep it at 60, and, you know, take a load off and relax. One of the things I love also about this part of the country is that if you want to get into your car to just get out, it's really easy to do, and there's always someplace to go that's really beautiful, really green, really just perfect, you know, when it comes to a relaxing atmosphere. There's plenty of water, like bodies of water that are scattered in throughout these woods. So, you can find yourself pulling over at the side of the road and realizing, hey, I hear a waterfall off in the distance. And you go there and wow, it's beautiful. It's one of those picturesque kind of locations where, you could take a ton of pictures and, create new memories, especially if you have your family with you. We did that when we first moved out here. There's a place called Glendale, not to be confused with Glendale, California, but Glendale over here, that's probably about 15 miles north of where we live. And the area specifically that I'm referring to is like Glendale Falls. And those falls are man-made, concrete barriers and whatnot, but they're reinforced with, big boulders and big rocks that water just comes over. It scales those little boulders and it looks semi-natural, obviously minus the concrete, but it's controlled. So I don't know if it's a kind of a flood control or whatnot, where if too much water comes over, it'll stop it or redirect it or whatever that intention is. But it's really pretty. One of the things that I love about it is, it's obviously dog friendly. So when I take Duchess, she can walk around and enjoy nature. Also, when Eddie's there, he can go swimming. I think it's just about thigh-high water, so younger kids can actually enjoy these little tide pools, if you will, that are created by these formations of concrete and rock. But for me, the most peaceful part about it is the sound. Running water is absolute zen for me. In fact, I have a whole bunch of CDs that I bought in the 90s that are like nature, sounds of thunderstorms, rainstorms, waterfalls, all sorts of, soothing, relaxing type stuff. And those CDs actually kept me sane in California for quite a few years before I got used to the fact that it never rains in California. So I just think that that's such a beautiful, beautiful part of this. And, it's not like one spot. It's not one spot. There's like every few hundred yards, there's potentially some kind of zen that you can get lost in for a while. So if you live a very stressful life and you live in, always under pressure and under stress, you just need to find yourself a quiet corner of South Carolina and enjoy the running waters or the wind rustling through the trees, the greenery. My God, the amount of green alone is worth a visit. Just seeing the forest, seeing everything blooming, all the flowers, all the smells. This is what my life literally was missing for almost 20 years. That's half my life, by the way, I gave to California. So anyway, I'll let you guys enjoy some more of the driving footage, but I just thought I'd share some of my, my personal experiences and my personal connections that I've made so far with this area of the country, this part of the country. Really pretty, really beautiful, and absolutely just perfection. So let's go. So when I originally purchased the 2020 Bolt EV premiere that I had in Los Angeles, one of the highlights of that car was simply that it was the most reliable car I had for the 2 years that I owned it. In fact, you guys know the entire process of what I had to deal with the buyback and the recall and everything, but to take a step back from that, I really, really love these cars. So between the updated features and functions and interfaces of this vehicle and whatever the old one had, those cars are just solid. I mean, in my opinion, they're some of the most solid cars that I've ever owned, and this is my 12th car. Before I decided to buy the Bolt EV in California, I kept buying used cars because I was always under the impression that it made sense for me to buy cheap, rusty buckets on wheels, simply because of the fact of how much miles I put on every year. At least in California, that's what was true back then. I would put anywhere between 30 and 50,000 miles on a car in a year or so, depending on the time. Now, when COVID came around, that obviously dropped a whole lot in terms of mileage, but I'm still driving a lot. I still ended up putting just under 19,000 miles on the 2020 Premiere before I turned it back in, and that was only about, a year or so worth of driving, because when COVID came in full speed, quarantine kind of stopped that. But anyway, going back to my original point, I think if you're in a market for an electric vehicle, I really think that you should give this particular model a consideration. Now, it's a little bit more expensive. This one with all the packages and all the features was about $44,000. But you can obviously not get Super Cruise. You can opt to not get the sunroof and the expanded audio system and all that jazz, and you'll save yourself quite a bit of money. That's typically true of all cars. When you get options, you start raising the price. But for me personally, if I'm going to get a brand new car, my mindset has always been get everything that you can with the car, so that way as you own it, you can't keep thinking to yourself, oh man, I have a regret now because I didn't get the sunroof, or I didn't get the Bose sound system or Super Cruise or whatever. Even if you don't use it, or you use it once or twice, in my mind, that's still worth it, because you can say, yeah, my car has it, but I don't use Super Cruise every day, and the idea is that it's there when I need it or want it, and it's still there when I don't need it or don't want it. So it is what it is. Now, obviously, the subscription costs and all of that stuff, that'll come later on. That's a mathematical and budgetary decision that has to be made, per use case. But for me, just having the feature and having the option to enable it or disable it, that's kind of key for me. I remember I had a car that was base spec. It was used. It was in some cases abused, but it was kind of a retired race car, street race car, if you will, that I bought, and I thought, it already has all the modifications done, all the engine tuning and everything was done. Pay $1,800 for the car, but then you find out that, that particular model didn't have a sunroof, or it didn't have something that another vehicle of the same kind of vintage and style, if you will, had that feature, and you're like, God, I should have spent, the $100 more to get that because I really love it, or I really want it, or I really, whatever. That's just, it's up here with me, I sometimes, I feel like justifying things to myself is too complex. So I just get everything, and then I don't have to justify it. If I have to convince my brain that, you don't really need the sunroof. You live in a place where it's always hot and humid and you never use it. Well, that's not true, because I used it like 3 times, and that's important for me. So I still stick with the original assessment that I made of the vehicle when I bought it, when it had, 5 miles on the clock. Now it's got almost 2,200 miles on it, and I'm still proud of the car. I still love the fact that I have it. I still get the occasional, head turns when I'm in a parking lot or something. They hear me, silently creep up behind them, and they hear that whirling, whooshing sound. That's kind of cool, and people don't really realize that, especially in this part where, you're more likely to find a diesel pickup truck than you are an electric vehicle. I think since we've moved here, I've only seen like 2 or 3 Teslas, and I think those were on the main stretches of freeway that actually go between states. So they were probably traveling through, and I'm not sure if those count. So, that's why I actually thought getting out and doing a road trip to at least exercise the car a little bit, exercise the battery a little bit, as well as have the opportunity to look at a charging stop that's a little bit distant. I remember having a conversation with my wife, because her RAV4, the blue RAV4 that we own, she's had it for, this is the 6th year, so we're about to pay it off. And I thought, hey, now's an opportunity for you, to trade it in, or to do something, if you wanted to sell it and get a new car, or, my question to her was, would you be interested in something like an electric vehicle? And she literally said no. Now, to me, that was kind of like, well, I get it, but you just kicked me in the stomach. And at the same time, I have to understand that that's her opinion. She has the right to decide what kind of car she wants to drive, whether it's an ICE or an EV or a hybrid or whatever. By the way, we just got on the 26, so I'm going to slam the gas to merge. And we should have Super Cruise capability here in a minute. And there it is. Green light's on, car's driving. So I'm going to face forward, so I hope you guys don't mind that I'm not addressing the camera. But I had this conversation with my wife, and I literally just had to kind of put myself in her situation, and I think she falls into the category of people that may not be aware how much there really is in terms of EV infrastructure all over the country. There are select places, North Dakota, South Dakota, et cetera, where there's just nothing. But if you look at like the Electrify America coverage map, it's pretty comprehensive. But she made a point. She tried to tell me, she's like, yeah, but look, you have a charger here, but then the next one's all the way over here. But if you look at the gas stations, there's one here, 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 blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, gas stations have been around for quite a bit longer than electric vehicle chargers have been. And as such, it will take some time for the infrastructure to catch up. She's like, yeah, but see, I don't want to deal with that. And I said, well, hold on a second. I'm not suggesting you get a car that's got, 80 miles of range. And she said, well, what else is there? And I said, well, I mean, if you want to spend a lot of money, you can get a long-range vehicle that will easily give you, high 200s, low 300s in terms of mileage. And I said, the distance between this Charger and this Charger might be 60 miles. And it's relatively easy to figure out, how much distance there is between where you are and your next available charger. So ultimately, in the end, I think it's just a matter of convenience that, her with her gasoline engine, she can go onto any corner of the town that we live in or wherever she's at, and she can get, a tank of gas without much hassle. But if she pulls into a charging stop that is like we are about to, that's completely full, I can understand that. So there is an argument to be made for both sides, right? Convenience, ease of use, whatever, and then you have the EV world where it's a little bit more complicated, a little bit more convoluted, but the cost savings don't seem to affect, people's judgments when it comes to, gasoline versus electric. I told my wife, I said, if you fill up your car and it costs you $60 to do, which sometimes it does, depending on where we go. If it costs $60, if I translate that to what I typically pay for a charging stop, that's about 1,200 miles of drivable range for this vehicle, $60. Because you figure if I'm doing 3 to 4 miles per kilowatt hour, and Electrify America, for example, charges me, whatever the Pass Plus rate is. I'll look it up when we get there. It's been so long since I used it, I don't even know what it is. But I know the default rate is 40 cents. So you can kind of figure that out. If you can go 15 to 20 miles per gallon on an average, in an average SUV or whatnot, you're not anywhere near that kind of efficiency. So, for me, there's obviously a lot more than just the cost part of it, because you're spending quite a bit of money on the car, and you're spending quite a bit of money on, annual registrations and taxes and licenses, just because the states and municipalities still have to make money off of your vehicle somehow, even though you're not paying a gasoline tax. Excuse me. So it's kind of a catch-22, really, in some ways. Maybe it's that hidden math that nobody considers. And I've never really done the math completely, like the total cost of ownership, where, okay, I'm going into a dealership, I'm putting down a deposit, I'm driving off with the car, and then I have a 6-year term at whatever the monthly rate is, plus whatever taxes you have for the municipalities, sales tax on the vehicle, and then charging costs, be it level 2 at home or DC fast charging on the road. I did a video a while back where I kind of broke down the costs of charging since this car was new. But that video didn't include the ancillary costs of taxes and all that extra fluff that gets added on by the city or the county or even the state that you live in. I remember the 2020 premiere in Los Angeles, when I got the renewal for it, it was like $740 some odd per year. And that was California's way of saying, you think you're going to get away with not paying gasoline taxes? Here you go. And that might be why I'm now driving to Columbia, South Carolina, instead of, I don't know, San Diego, California. I mean, it is what it is. It's everybody has to make their own decisions based on what they feel is accurate. There's a lot of people all over the country, and obviously California is a big hub for electric vehicles, that these people believe that, owning an electric vehicle and not burning fossil fuels and whatnot, and living in areas where solar and, some kind of renewable energy sources are used to power the charging facilities for these vehicles. I am one of those people. But at the same time, I'm also one of those people that's not going to give in to a random cost that doesn't affect me. I used to live in Atlanta. When I was a kid, when I graduated from college, I moved from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania to Atlanta, Georgia. And it's funny because Georgia's right over here. But when I made that move, I had a 1998 Mitsubishi Eclipse, the whole shebang from bumper to bumper. I even tried to audition it for Too Fast, Too Furious, that kind of thing. It doesn't matter. The point is that I had this rinky-dink car that originally cost me about, I don't know, $3,000. I think it was with taxes out the door, it was $3,000. Back in 2002 or 2003. Anyway, so a 5-year-old car, very well used, very well maintained. It was owned by somebody who was, some kind of a street racing enthusiast that had, the idea that they were going to drag race this thing or street race this thing, but it never was. So I bought it from them, and I loved that car. I put tens of thousands of miles on that car across 2 years of ownership, and I would make monthly trips back to Pennsylvania where my friends and family were, sometimes twice a month. If there was a holiday or something, I would get in a car and go. And fast forward a little bit, a year goes by, and I get my renewal. So, every year you have to pay for the renewal. So I get the renewal in the mail, and I'm looking at it, and there's something that at the time, I'm not sure if that's still a thing or if they changed things. If any of you guys live in the Atlanta area or Georgia as a whole, let me know if this tax still exists. The ad valorem tax was a tax that was put on your vehicle for having, the ability to use the roads. So, let it be known that tax was almost a third of the value of that car. So, yeah, it kind of is what it is, but at the same time, you just kind of have to suck it up and deal with it, because certain cities, certain towns, certain states, whatever, they're going to have fees, they're going to have usage costs, they're going to have taxes, whatever, and all of that's going to be added on top of what your expenses are for the car. And actually, I guess I can share this part as well. In June of this year, boy, Super Cruise is having a hard time with this road. I don't know if it's this construction that's over here to the left or what, but even just a straight road, it's just bouncing all over the lines. Kind of interesting. But it's still active. It lights green and everything. So in June of this year, I'm going to have to pay a city tax for this car, and on that form it actually says, do not confuse this with the sales tax that was paid at the time of purchase. And it's an assessed tax based on the fact that my car is brand new. The registration for the car for this car was done in my county, in my home county. And so they sent me this nice little letter that says, hey, we're gonna want $550 from you for the drivability of this car on city roads. Okay. It's still cheaper for me to drive this car, even with that fee, than my wife and her car. And it's funny because I have that insight, right? Because we own both an ICE and an EV. It's very easy to compare, the costs of ownership between the two when it comes to usability. And I'm pretty sure that if I really, really focused on it, I could figure out what the per mile cost is of our RAV4 and the per mile cost of this, which I think I calculated out roughly. Again, it didn't include any of these taxes or any of these ancillary fluff charges, right? But you kind of get the idea. If it's 10 cents or 11 cents a mile versus 40, 50, 60 cents a mile, again, all of it was rough, all of it was estimated, but you kind of get the idea. There's a lot to be said about this, and a lot to think about. And if you're in the market for an electric vehicle, if you really think that, you really want to get into the world of electric vehicles, I would say jump on it. The problem right now, in the beginning, second quarter of 2023, dealerships are abusing customers who want to buy, Bolt EVs and Bolt EUVs, especially the 2023 models. I did a video a few days ago highlighting a dealership in Arizona that added almost $20,000 on top of the MSRP on an LT Redline that was half spec compared to this one, and it still would have been 15 grand more than I paid for this one at the beginning of this year here in South Carolina. So I understand that certain cars have a tendency to go faster than others, but I don't understand why a dealership would feel the need to discourage the purchasing of one of those vehicles. It's one thing if you need to make some money or adjust market rates to account for supply and demand. It's another thing if you're just straight up trying to extort your fellow man out of potentially 20 grand on the purchase price of a car. Like that's not good. In fact, a lot of people kind of said the same thing in the comments, like, I'm gonna go someplace else. If my dealership did that to me, I would, tell them to go to hell or whatever. It is what it is. It's just kind of sad. But that is the state of the world. And as I stated in that video, I'm not sure if there's much we can do about it. If people really honestly wanted to do something about it, we could all come together and obviously make things right. But that process in itself is an expense, right? So coming together and doing the right thing is not a sound business decision, at least not with the way that companies do business in this country today. So anyway, we got 11 more miles to go. I think we have 16 more minutes, 15 minutes on the clock here to get there. Super Cruise is going. It's a little weird. I think that it didn't like that construction zone back there, but now that the cow chutes and the barriers are gone, it's doing really well. It's keeping distance really stable distance between us and the Toyota Highlander in front of us. So it's doing pretty good. I really have nothing but good things to say about this car. Ease of use is right up there. Comfort is huge. I don't know how I lived my entire life without air-conditioned seats. These air-conditioned seats, you see them, I have them on. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I no longer have the back that's glued to the seat, and then when you get up, it's like peeling tape. So it's perfect. I also noticed that if I'm getting out of the car to go someplace, either if I'm dressed up in a suit or something, my back's not sticking to the shirt's not wrinkled and broken between me and the seat. So air conditioned seats for the win. Super Cruise like this, I mean, when it works, like right now, it's keeping me at 77 miles per hour. I think I could probably turn that down a little bit to maybe 75 so I don't get arrested, because the speed limit's 70 and I was going 81. But I'm following traffic. The car's keeping distance. I feel safe. I'm obviously looking out the window, so I'm paying attention. I had to grab the wheel a few times because Super Cruise kind of flipped out on some of the bridges back there that were under construction. But I think it's beautiful. It's a beautiful car. I love the black on black, or this kind of bluish gray. I'm not sure what the color of the interior is called, but it's kind of blue black. Really nice. Air conditioning pumps cold like icicles out the vents. I have it set to 68 because when I had it to 64, I was shivering a little bit here. So climate control really rocks. The sunroof, being that it's open and the sun's coming in, it's not letting a lot of heat in. I don't feel any heat on my head. My hair is cool. It's not, absorbing a lot of heat. So, the tint on that window is actually really solid. Other than that, I don't know what else to say. The efficiency right now, being that we're on the freeway, higher speeds, around 70, 75 miles per hour, is 3.6 miles per kilowatt hour, with a 57.1 miles traveled. And if we look at, I guess we can look at energy here too. We are just about 50% state of charge. We've used 16.6 kilowatts across 57.5 miles with an average of 3.6 miles per kilowatt hour. 8% of this has gone to climate control. 92% of it has been driving and accessories. As far as my lifetime average is 3.0 miles per kilowatt hour. So really good. My impacts, so my technique has cost me 3.1 miles or 3.0 miles. Climate has cost me almost 5 miles. The outside temperature, being that now it says it's 85, has actually added 3.2 miles with an average impact efficiency of negative 5.5 miles. So that's about right. I like to be comfortable, so I don't hypermile. I just plan things out in my head as much as I can. If I know that I have a road trip that's gonna, consume X amount of energy, and I know I have more energy than than the trip entails, or that the trip requires, I should say, you know, then I'm good. You know, if I have to hypermile it because I'm just a little bit out of range, or, you know, bad weather or whatever, that's a different story. But I don't think to date I've done that once. So yeah, about 60 miles driven, 59.3, 3.6 miles per kilowatt hour average. Right now it's 73 miles per hour because Super Cruise is adjusting the speed based on what the Toyota Highlander in front of us is doing. We are consuming about between 26 and 30 kilowatts, you know, at this speed. So doing pretty good. We just crossed 2,220 miles, 60 miles on the trip meter. I'm happy. I'm thrilled. It's a really good experience. So I'm gonna finish off this next 12 minutes here. I'm gonna focus on the road because Super Cruise is having a hard time. So I'll give the car a little hand. Yep, there it goes. So I'm going to take control, and I'll see you guys at the Electrify America station. All right, I'll be back.
This call and any subsequent related calls may be recorded or monitored for quality control purposes.
I'm calling Electrify America. This station is a disaster.
Thank you for calling Electrify America. My name is Stephanie. How may I assist you today?
Hi, yes, I'm calling from station number 100234 off of Harbison Boulevard in Columbia, South Carolina. This station is having severe trouble functioning, and there's a line of vehicles that are very low state of charge in line trying to use it. we need some help trying to either reboot this station or seeing if we can report a station failure. I don't know what the process is.
Sure. What are the last two numbers of the station ID?
Station ID, the last two numbers is 34. 100234 is the station.
So after 34, there should be two more numbers.
Oh, okay, so it's 010203. Those three chargers are down.
Okay, which?
All of them. This whole site is essentially down.
Yes, they've actually already been. Yeah, I'm looking at them right now, and they all have been reported. And it looks like, let's see, inoperative. Yeah, they all have a pending work order on it. They've already been reported, unfortunately. So that's the only one working at that location right now.
Okay, is there any way to update your app? Because your app is leading people here, and there's 15 cars here.
So once the technician goes out there, they'll be able to change that on the application. They'll be able to update that information.
Wait, I guess I'm not understanding. So right now they're showing as available, but when you get here, they're broken. People are relying on these chargers to get from point A to point B. If they're showing as available on the app, but they're down, then that's causing people to show up at a station that only has one charger available, and it's only capped at 100 kilowatts. So there's a Rivian currently plugged in that's got another 90-minute charges on it just to get to 80%. There's no way to expedite sending somebody out here?
Unfortunately, no. They don't give us a time frame of when they will be out there. But I do see here that they already scheduled somebody. It has a service pending on it already.
So what does that usually...
They have been reported, all three of those.
What does that usually entail? Like, what's the turnaround for that? Is it same day, or is it next day, or...
No, it could be several days. It could be maybe a few weeks. I
Several
don't know.
days.
Give you a definitive answer, unfortunately.
Wow.
Yes, unfortunately, I can't give you. We don't have an ETA, unfortunately.
This is brutal. This is brutal. Because you got people that can't leave here. And Electrify America is taking its sweet time to fix it.
Find maybe another location?
It doesn't help me when I have 3 or 4% state of charge. I'm not going anywhere. There's no other location within, a couple of tens of miles from here. So that's what I'm saying. This is kind of an important charger because it's right off the 26. It's a travel corridor through the middle of South Carolina, and there's only 4 stalls here. So that's what I mean. Like, this is really bad for the entire EV community. Just got kicked in the neck because we might have to wait for several days to get our vehicles out of this parking lot. That's not good.
Yeah, unfortunately, they don't give us a time frame.
So who can you guys work with to get those time frames? Because you got drivers here that need to know what to do. Also, your app says that the chargers are available, and that when I pulled in, it said that there were 4 out of 4 in use, but that wasn't the case. So this is a broken system. And EV drivers are paying the price for it.
Once the technician goes out there, they'll be able to fix that on the application.
Right, but
right now they are showing offline.
Right, but you're telling me that there's no way to stop people from coming here.
Right. Yeah. At the moment, there is not.
Wow. Okay, how do we open a ticket and escalate this? Because I just don't see how.
I can definitely. I'm gonna.
Go ahead.
I can take a note of it, everything that you mentioned, and that you're unable to charge, and it's very inconvenient for you. I'll go ahead and escalate it and let them know. I just need your phone number associated with your account.
Area code.
Okay. All right, and what's your first and last name?
Tom Elarowski.
Okay. Have you already tried station number 1, or have you tried all of them
All of them except
and you weren't able to charge?
all of them except number 4. Number 1 says it's online. The two guys before me had you guys reboot it. That didn't do anything. Maybe these things just need to be kicked. I don't know. Like, because there is a Rivian currently
Number
charging.
1 has that pending work order on it.
Well, 2 and 3 must have that work order too, because 2 and 3 are actually unavailable.
Right.
They tell
All
you that
three
they're
of those.
unavailable. Yeah, so
Right.
so there's a
Yeah, those 2 are unavailable.
there's a Rivian charging, and he's got another 80 minutes or so to charge, and then there's 2 other cars before me, and there's 11 cars behind me. Yeah, this can't take days to fix. I mean, this is what EV drivers are so concerned about. You know, because the charging providers aren't doing their share to upkeep these sites or upgrade them. There's only 4 stalls at a major thoroughfare like this instead of 8 or 12 even. So I don't know what the expectation is, but to only have 1 site down right off the edge of the freeway, that's a kick to all people who chose to go the EV route. So yeah, this.
Okay, so I'm just taking a note of everything that you're mentioning.
Yeah, please do,
So
and maybe attach a recording of this call too, because I don't know. You guys are recording these calls, so
yeah, everything is recorded.
yeah. So yeah, please
So
please tell these guys to get off their donuts and come out here, because we can't have all of these poor people waiting for potentially days for somebody to respond, when some of these guys have literally close to 0 state of charge on their vehicles. You know, this is like pulling into a gas station with the little yellow light on. It's the same exact thing. It's the same exact mentality, but we're in a pinch because Electrify America isn't keeping these sites up to date. So please put that in. I will walk around and tell all these people to don't even bother, and if they can leave, they can leave. But you guys really need to update the app to make it say that the whole site is down, because it is. Limited to 100 kilowatts, not acceptable, especially when you have vehicles that are charging at 275 or higher. And then the other 3 are just dead. So the whole site needs to be taken offline.
Okay.
Thank you for your help. All right, so we are still here at this Electrify America nightmare down at the Walmart here in Columbia, South Carolina. By the way, the address of this place is 360 Harbison Boulevard. And this is Columbia, South Carolina 29212. So I don't know if you guys can see out this window, just depending on what the glare is. There's an Rivian R1T with a U-Haul trailer that's plugged into station number 4. So there are 4 stalls. The closest one to me is station number 1. The furthest one is station number 4. And actually, I'll try to get some pictures. The reason I'm in the car and not out there is because there's guys out there literally screaming expletives at Electrify America, because they've been here for hours. There is a Mach-E over here. There is another EV right here. All of them relatively fast charging cars comparatively to the Bolt EUV, which is only 55 kilowatts. And some of these guys are getting between 50 and 100 kilowatt power delivery. So there's obviously a huge problem at the station. Electrify America has service tickets in for the first 3 chargers. The 4th one is limited at speed. And oh, here's an ID4 that just pulled in. Sorry, dude. Yeah, so that guy's telling them that they're not working. So, they said that there are tickets open for service for the first 3, and that the 4th one is limited by the amount of energy that the station can deliver as a whole. So it literally is capping somewhere around 98 to maybe 100 kilowatt power delivery. So there's a bunch of cars here. There's a bunch of cars there. There have been about 11 EVs that have came and went since I parked in this spot right here. But they're all, some of them have higher states of charge, so they can move on to the next charging facility. Others, like that Mach-E, has 2%, and I don't know what this EV over here has. I don't even know what EV this is. I think this is a Polestar or something, because it's got the weird grill, but it doesn't have any emblems on it. So anyway, it is what it is. Right now, fortunately, I have 110 miles on the range estimator with a minimum of 90, and I have about 60 miles to get home. So I'm actually going to just cut my losses. I'm going to do a plug share. I'm going to do one of Kyle Connor's rate your charge updates on Twitter, and then I'm going to essentially head out, because there's no point in me waiting potentially 4 hours to charge my vehicle when I still have just under 50% state of charge. So Columbia, South Carolina is officially on my no-go list. I'm actually going to make a note of that. I wish this app had the ability to to rate the station. Somehow this station as a whole, it says 2 out of 4 chargers are available. So if you're in this area and you're looking at this Walmart 1164, I guess that's the store number. So Walmart number 1164 at 360 Harbison Boulevard. Stay away from it. It's not gonna do you any good. Here's another Bolt EV that just pulled in. Actually, that's an EUV. It's a really nice one. It looks like that gentleman there is taking care of all the stragglers, telling them that only one site's working. That's a Florida EUV with a hitch. There's a tow hitch on the back of it. I like it. So anyway, the app says 2 out of 4 chargers are available. They're not. If you actually click on them, there's really nothing available, to be honest. That one that's charging at a third its rated speed, why bother? Unless you have a Bolt EV or EUV, which can max out on that charger. But everything else, like that Rivian, poor Rivian, it's literally trickle charging right now. So I'm gonna cut this video right here for now. I'll give you guys some more thoughts later on. 3 days. That is unacceptable. That is severely not acceptable. There's not a single company that provides electric vehicle charging that should feel like 3-day turnaround periods for engineer dispatch. That's acceptable. Because if there was somebody here with a 0% state of charge, or at a low state where they can't go to the next station that's about, I don't know, 30, 40 miles away, well, then they have to sit here for potentially 3 days, or get towed, or do whatever. If they're on a road trip like that R1T is up there with that U-Haul, well, that guy's going to be there for another 90 minutes potentially, because he's charging at 98 kilowatts. And he has to have a minimum of 85%. He was telling me that the next charging stop for him requires 85%. So he wants 85 to 90 to sufficiently be able to handle the weight that he has in the back of his truck, in the bed, as well as the trailer. So this is about as worse as I ever seen it. I've never seen this in California. The handfuls of sites that I dealt with in California, were typically very busy, but there was always a turnaround, and I never experienced a lot of the failures that people find in the middle of the country somewhere, off in the boonies, where the station might be down or it might be, slow or whatever. It's just one of those things that this is relatively new for me. So I'm actually going to head out. I'm going to get out of this line so these people know that I'm leaving, and it's just one less thing they have to deal with. But yeah, stay away from this place. You can see my update on PluckShare. So let's get out of here. Let's go home. So I talked to them.
Yeah.
They said it could take potentially 3 days to fix this.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, they said they have a ticket in. They said that it's been dispatched. And I said, well, what's the typical turnaround time for one of these dispatches? And they said, well, we don't know, but it has been anywhere from a few hours to 3 days. And I said, that's too big of a range. You have to narrow that down.
Yeah.
And I told her, there's lines of cars, people coming and going, trying to charge. One charger works at a third of its output.
Mm-hmm.
This is not acceptable. And then they wonder why EV owners are complaining.
Yeah.
So I did tell her that the app still shows that 2 out of 4 chargers are available. So people are bound to come off the freeway and just...
Oh, yeah. The guy I was talking to right here just a minute ago pulled up next to this one. I was telling him, hey, there's a line. There's only one working. And he said this one was working earlier today. Number one was. But
the woman actually said that this one shows us online, like it's working. Like, I don't know if it's worth hopping into the grass and going on the other side and trying to actually charge.
Well, he tried it like 5 times. He wasn't the only one that tried it, though. The first guy had a Honda, not a Honda, but Hyundai Ioniq.
Oh, Ioniq. That's still a fast charging car.
He was trying to, and on the phone with him when we arrived.
Yeah.
And this guy was waiting, and there was another guy at the working one. But
yeah, I remember that. I think it was a Mach-E or something that was parked there
yeah.
when I arrived. Well, I mean, do you have enough? Do you have enough to head to a different charger, or do you have to wait it out?
I'm gonna have to wait it out.
I'm at 50%. I literally came here to do a site review, and it blew up in my face.
Oh man.
So,
Sucks.
no, it is what it is. I charge at home, but
Yeah, me
I was
too.
willing to plug it in just to get a benchmark to see if I can max this car out, and to do all the Twitters, all the social media stuff, the video stuff, and it unfortunately this is
Yeah, this really sucks. Really sucks. We drove up from Tampa
Oh.
today. We hit 2 Walmarts on the way up. Both of them in and out. Everything's great. This one, disaster.
I've never seen a show like this before.
Yeah, this one is insane. We've only done a couple of road trips where we've had to do charging on the road, but this is the first time we've ever seen anything like this. But I was wary because I'd already looked at the website, the Charge Hub, and they told me 2 out of 4 were working, and they were complaining this one was really slow. And
It's just a lost cause. This is the guy, right?
yep, he's the one who said this one was working earlier today, but
Yeah, this one shows us available. That one shows us in
I'll
use
pull up a
now.
little bit. We can try it, but I know it won't work because I've seen them try
No,
it
I mean
over and over and over.
if they actually tried it
They
and
did. He plugged it in on his Rivian like 3 different times, and the guy with the Ioniq,
yeah,
he was there for 15 minutes on the phone, plugging it in, pulling it out, plugging it in, pulling it out.
that's such a shame.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you have a safe rest of your road trip.
Well, thanks a lot.
Sorry about this,
Yeah,
but
that's the way it goes sometimes, I guess. I knew there'd be some hassles. I didn't know they'd be quite this bad, but
I started my EV career in California.
yeah,
So one of the things about California is it's EV central. Like
right.
every 15-20 minutes there's some kind of a charging, a high power fast charger station.
Mm-hmm.
But here I mean, I'm 60 miles from home, which is why I have 50% to get home, right? Because I kind of did that math. But, you know, for people who road trip through these parts of the country,
Right.
you know, the nearest one to here, I think, is up in Greenville, which is the one I typically use because I'm from the Spartanburg area. So that's annoying.
Well, we were coming up from the south.
Yeah.
We were coming up 95 and cut across on 26. And once you get on 26, this is the only thing.
This is it. This is it until you
the
get...
one place. That's it.
Yeah.
26. Well, there's an easy go not too far from
Yeah, but it shows as defective or constantly broken. Like you read the comments, they're always saying that it's broken. And if you have the state of charge to check it out, that's one thing. But if you're low state, you're like, I can't risk it. I can't show up to another dead charger.
here. That's the way I am now.
You're low?
I'm about where you are.
Oh, I'm at half. Oh, I'll make it another, 90 miles or so. But, like, the only reason I came here was to do a site review. Literally just talk about these 4 sites, plug in, test them, see if they ramp up to the supported speed of this vehicle at least, and then provide that information out to Twitter and Facebook
So how
and
you
YouTube.
charging this?
At home,
Where's that?
level 2.
Yeah. In Florida I have charging. In New York I have charging, but I don't have charging on the way to both places. But
Yeah.
I had a hybrid.
No. Level 1, I'm saying stay away from that. But if you have the level 2 part of it, you can get 4, 5, 6 hours,
Yeah.
depending on what your state is.
Yeah, that's 50 amp service.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call them up and see if I can get something to happen here.
Already done that. Several people have.
Yeah.
They have 3 tickets open for all 3 of these.
So when are they gonna have somebody here?
I've been
Between
here-
now and 3 days.
I've been here about an hour and a half now. I've watched them try 5 times.
Yeah, I was
times on
parked
that.
up there. I actually watched you pull in. You passed me on the way in. I was on the phone with them, and the woman was just like, "We're sorry."
I'm about 85 miles, 85, so I can probably plug in with 110 with a plug.
I mean, you're not gonna get much with 110, even if you stay for a while. But if
I'm
you
staying overnight
where
in the hotel
the hotel doesn't have level 2.
on Tesla,
Thanks.
and I didn't buy a Tesla
Adapter, the
adapter, and I was
J170
going
adapter.
to.
Yeah, I mean, okay, that's that too. If they have a level, you're not going to get a lot. You might get 40 miles of range out of overnight.
Well, probably, yeah, over there.
If you have 50% state of charge, go up to 26 a little bit. I think it's 30 miles north. There's another facility there. That's the one that they said was
That's the Evo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got my wife just found 7 miles from here.
Yeah, I think that EVgo is the one that
Is
listed
that
as
Spinks
defective.
one, or-
Yeah, Spinks, I think
Yeah.
it is, at a Spinks gas station
Is that going toward?
up north, north on 26.
You have to go. I have to go to Tennessee. I'm going that way. I think I'm going from.
Well, which
I'm going to the throughway down to 81.
are you going through Georgia, or are you going to go all the way up through?
I've been through Georgia already. I'm going the opposite way. I'm going down to 81.
Oh, I see. So okay.
Is that toward the right way?
No, that's the opposite direction.
So I passed it
You passed it.
because this was supposed to be good. Because you got 2 more hours here. There's 2 more hours here. Yeah, but they don't have 50 amps. We went to a campsite. We may be able to.
Yeah, if you go a place where there's like an RV park with 40 or 50 amp service, that's about it.
Yeah, no, they don't have a plug that close. It's probably a 50 amp circuit.
You need like a 300-yard extension cord.
Yeah, a football field.
Yeah, a football field. Yeah, that's what I mean.
A number 6 wire.
Yeah.
Well, we can leave the car here. One of them's still working until that burns up.
The problem is there's no formal line, so you could have somebody cut in front of you, cut behind you, whatever.
We can just park the car here.
Well, yeah, but that's not going to stop. If this Rivian leaves,
I'm pulling up.
you're pulling up.
Waiting for
But then who's going to stop from pulling in between you and him?
My knife in the side of the tire.
There you go.
That'll stop him. I mean, that works pretty damn good.
Man, we
Put a
just
flare gun in their car side.
man, we just went from civilized to the late 18th
So
century.
that's what happens.
So I'm gonna head out of here before I lose more state.
Yeah.
You just checked that, right?
Well, we don't. It shows it's available, but it's got.
That one shows is available
Right,
too.
Exactly, but the last comment that's on there says it's defective.
It's defective, right?
They have 5 people call.
I just got off the phone with them like 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, before I pulled up here. Yeah, I just came here just to talk about the site, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's right behind us.
So it's you, him, that one.
You're potentially looking at 5 hours.
5 hours is no problem. Because I'm in a hotel all night. And there's nothing on that damn TV set worth watching.
Unless you got a credit card.
What's that?
Unless you got a credit
There's
card.
nothing there. I'd rather watch on my phone.
Well, there you go. You still need a credit card for that.
No, it's not. It's free. You don't know what the right sites to do.
Thank God my kid's not in the car.
I tell you, I have no idea.
No, so yeah, I mean, I think that's just the reality of small stations, and
Well,
I think the point needs to be made to all EV drivers, because, like I said, this shows online, that one shows is in use, but when I left, all 4 of them were online and in use, which,
According to.
and that was only an hour before I got here because I'm 60 miles away. So by the time I got here, those 3 were dead. There was a line for that one. Oh, and the whole site is limited to 100 kilowatts.
Where is the service? Where are the service people for these places?
Probably Canada. I don't know. I mean, if it takes them 3 days to get here. I told the woman, I was like, listen, there's like 11 cars that came and went since I got on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
You need to do something. And she's like, we can't. We don't have that access. And I'm like, that's a broken system.
Yeah,
You need to
basically, when
write
you
that
call-
part up.
When you call, all they ever do is restart. That's all they can do, I guess.
It's the same thing as your cable service providers. Hey, my modem's down. I'll send a signal.
Mhm.
What signal are you sending?
Mhm.
So yeah, no, it's kind of a shame, really, but I guess it is what it is. Oh, is there another Mach-E behind me now? Yep.
There's another Mach-E. What do you know?
Yep. All these cars charge too fast.
Yeah.
You need more power, more power, more power. Me with this 55 kilowatt limitation, I'm like, if it takes me an hour and a half, I live a slow lifestyle. I don't need to rush. I don't need to charge at 275.
Mhm.
You know, especially now that all these companies are coming up with tiered charging
Yeah.
rates, where if you're charging up to 55 kilowatts, it's one rate. Then you have a higher rate for 150, and then another higher one for 225 and up. It's like,
Mhm.
why would I buy, a truck that can handle 300 kilowatts if I'm going to pay gasoline level prices for said pickup truck?
Seriously.
So, because you're not getting the efficiency in that as I would be in this empty,
Right.
right? I can go 270 miles on this if I hypermile it. Just, is he really? He's gonna flip out on them and be like, "I got a knife. I'm gonna stick it into the tire." Why are there gasoline-powered cars coming into an EV charging lot?
That's a good question.
All right, well,
Yeah.
good luck.
Hopefully, I'm almost up here. I think he was at 70% last time I checked with him. Thanks. for
Take
getting
care.
involved, man.
Yeah, no worries. Have a good one. Five hours remaining? Actually, that's pretty quick. Oh, no, that's 48%. Yeah. Yeah, it's 48%.
87%.
Wait a minute. How did it get from...
40 is, I think, the charge rate. it slows, it cuts it in half in most of these places when you go over 80.
Does that say 82 minutes charging? Because he had a 90-minute charge, right?
That's kilowatt hours. It's 54 minutes charging.
How did it get to 80? Because he was gonna pack up at 90%, right?
Yeah. Almost there, so.
Wow, that's impressive. That's actually pretty quick.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'll be plugging in here in a minute.
There you go. Good luck. Okay. So we have come and we have left, and now we're going home because this station is a disaster. There's 3 other guys now on the phone with Electrify America, complaining. They're essentially taking the message that I received from the Electrify America support, and you can see probably out my window now how many cars are waiting there. There's 5 cars there, and there's an ID4 that's parked over there. And then on the other side of the semi-truck are 2 more cars. I don't know if you can see it through the perspective that you have there. So anyway, it's time to head out of here because I am going to lose my head at Electrify America. Very disappointed. Absolutely one of the worst sights I have ever seen, and just absolute nightmare. I am so thankful that shut up, Siri. I am so thankful that I have 50% state of charge. My minimum's at 88, and I have 63 miles to head home. So I'm going to get home with about 20 miles left of range, plus minus. It's going to be pretty close to that because I noted the efficiency level of the forest roads. It's relatively low speed but constant speed. Anyway, this station, nightmare. I don't even know how I'm going to cut this video together because it's just all over the place. Electrify America did electric vehicle owners very wrong today, especially here in Columbia, South Carolina. So, and from the sounds of it, the woman that I spoke to, she's like, can't help you, I'm sorry, blah blah blah. You know, the typical apologetic and no action way of supporting a product or a platform. Yeah, so I'm getting back on a 26 west, I guess. It's kind of weird. The 26 kind of runs diagonal, so it's west and east, but technically it's north. So there's the sunset, and we're going north, so kind of weird, but it is what it is. I'll see if I can put this video together in some kind of congruent manner, but we'll see. It's gonna be tough, that's for sure. So stick around.